Welcome to Still Growing in Grace. I'm Mike Zanker. Join me and other amazing guests as we explore and discover better, hope-filled perspectives on biblical texts and difficult themes. Prepare to expand your understanding of God's love and amazing grace. Growing in Grace Ministries Canada and Hope Fellowship, as well as Eastside Church, invite you to enjoy today's program as we dig deeper into what it means to be still growing in grace. Welcome back to Still Growing in Grace. We're having a conversation about beyond the appearance. And Richard shared a story of a family he saw on a beach last week and how God really drew him in to see something deeper than just a silhouette of some people. He saw emotions of love and care, which made me think, and so let's talk about this as a continuation. You had an epiphany in that moment. It may not have been like a super wow epiphany, but it was an epiphany because you were forced to be paying attention and you were in a place you normally are not. All right. That was key. Now I want to show you guys a picture. I'm going to put this on the screen. This was 2 years ago and we were talking about fog and that light coming through the fog. This is what I took a picture of. Please work. There it is. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Wow.
that is a light rainbow, white rainbow in the fog.
Wow.
Can you see that, Richard?
Yes, I can see it now.
Yeah, like holy smokes. I couldn't believe I've never seen that before because it was a very strange fog. But do you know why I saw it? Because I was on vacation. I was away from my hustle and bustle. I was away from the routines of my life. Now, this I might be preaching to myself here, or God might be trying to teach me something right now, but to step away and realize if all the negativity that we're seeing is contaminating our peace, then we may need to step away if it's not only for a day. Sometimes my wife and I just go on a quick day trip and it feels like a vacation. Like it almost had the power of a week off. I would never have guessed that. But I would never have seen that rainbow if I had not taken time away.
Right.
So the epiphany can come to us, the epiphany of God showing us something. That's what I think of an epiphany is God saying, hey, wake up. I'm trying to show you something. Maybe, I don't know. But it often happens when we least expect it. And if we don't take a break, he can still blast through our busyness and give us epiphanies.
Yeah. And it may be that the epiphanies that we experience, so Jesus withdrew to the mountain to pray. That kind of helps put that into it, doesn't it? Yeah. Get away from all the flurry, the ministry flurry that was going on.
Well, his disciples could have been driving him nuts too, so who knows?
Yeah. But then he was seeing epiphanies left and right as he was encountering people, going around beautifying them, as we spent a lot of time talking last time about beautification, that we're ministers of the gospel, of the good news. We beautify. We come into situations and we should expect epiphanies. But here's the thing. We were talking about what keeps us from viewing epiphanies. Mike, you nailed it, because we have strongholds. Our whole battle, Paul said, is against the strongholds. And these mental strongholds in Corinthians, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and having a readiness to revenge all disobedience. Well, when I saw that, I said, man, that's revenge on our thoughts. That's revenge on the thoughts that don't unveil beauty. I'm not going to accept this thought. A thought comes in, how ugly this situation is or how hopeless it is. And I'm telling you, I'm saying for this moment, I may tell you something different 10 minutes from now. But right now, there is no situation that can't be penetrated with the light of God and can't be viewed differently, and we not find an epiphany of beautification, that we can just declare beauty or blessed. And something in this book we're reading in it about Dante's Inferno that I mentioned was he uses the word, and he got it from David Hart, actually, bliss instead of blessed. That David Hart says that word blessed actually means blissed, in the Greek. And how about using that? We go around blessing people, blessing them, bringing this bliss of joy, this bliss of love, a light to the fog. And I told y'all that right after the fog thing, what was so amazing about the fog thing is that we were reading a book that used this for Dante's Inferno to show that Love was there to unveil new sources of light to lift the fog that was keeping the people trapped in purgatory, or slowing them down with low quality energy. And all we got to do is think about the things in our lives that bring us. You described it very well, Mike, in the last session about the low quality energy that we find ourselves stuck in, and not looking up, not lifting our eyes to the hill to see where our help comes from, and our help comes from above, the maker of heaven and earth, and just having the single light that our whole body will be full of light, and that we're light sources. We're light sources for the fog that's in the world right now. Whatever you want to call what's wrong with the world, a fog is as good a thing as any. There's a fog bank over the whole thing. And there's, and people can't see, and they don't know what's beyond the fog. And they think this is all there is, and everything that they can see in the fog is accurate. And but I'm telling you, this trip we were on vacation when I saw it, and then to have a light source appear in the distance on this family where the man was suffering from the muscular disease, and then within an hour the fog had cleared up, and it had been there for 2 days. I said, man, we paid for this thing down here. All I could think about that moment was actually Heather paid for it. But I mean, we paid for this. It was my birthday present. But we paid for this thing, and we're in fog here, and the whole time. But then I got to see this holy ground thing, and then the fog lifted, and this family, like I said, it's not it just, I had a sense in watching this that this whole thing was to show what the Lord is doing, that eternity awaits all of us, that eternity awaits this beautiful man, that he was in a place of peace about it, and he was looking out at the ocean, and my God, but God let there be light, and there was light in the thing. And this family was precious, and I was honored to see it. And again, it circles back around to Dostoevsky's thing that he said, beauty will save the world. And that is what we are called to beautify everything that we see, everything that we participate, and to look and see Jesus there, that Jesus is intimately interested in all these things, these appearances, these idols. We talked last time about how idolatry, that the word means to serve appearances. And then Paul warned us not to walk by sight, idols, from where idolatry comes, but by faith. And Jesus said, judge not by appearance, but judge the righteous judgment.
Could he also mean don't live by reactions either?
Yeah.
Isn't that the same thing?
Yes.
Because we're prone to react. Randy,
and that shuts the door down. That shuts the door down from hearing.
Yes. Randy, you don't react, do you?
I was just thinking, someone else may have been driving by or nearby that scene and looked at it and said, "Oh, look how sad that is. Look how depressing that is. That this is going on." And I think much of the what you're saying, the beauty, it almost has to be, it almost has to come from in us. When we're viewing the world, there's two ways, maybe more than two ways, but there's certainly more than one way to see it. Every situation, there's more than one way to see it. And you would miss the beauty if your mindset is different. If you're looking for justice, or if you're looking for sadness, or if you're looking for something else, that's what you're going to see, or injustice.
Say that again.
Yeah, if you're looking for injustice or for sadness or for anything depressing, that's what you're going to see.
You will find what you're looking for, or you will, it's in your mind, you will see.
Right.
What you're currently focused on in your mind, that's what you'll recognize.
Right. Exactly.
And whatever the satanic voice is, putting aside for a minute, is it an angel or is it a spirit or whatever? But it accuses day and night. It accuses the brethren day and night. What does it accuse it of? Of appearances. Satan, well, in our mind, the satanic voice, whatever you want to call it, is pointing out accusations based on our history of how we've interpreted appearances before. So that when Paul says, strongholds, God wants to demolish mental strongholds, emotional strongholds in us. He's talking about strongholds that have built up over time, probably, Mike, because of our past reactions. We reacted to something in the past. So we've already got this. I pigeonholed this. and there's no hope and there's no life in it. But to tear down strongholds means we have to do the things Jesus said to do, to drop the things, to drop the worries of the day, to cast our cares away and on him, to cast the cares away, to keep a single eye so our whole body can be full with light, to do these things that bring eternity into the now, so that we're not so rushed and so horse, so blind. What are the blinders, on the horses, that we can't see beyond and around the appearances. And but there's so much to be seen and so much for us. And it's not like we got to be sitting there just nervous and running around like, just nervous mice, running around, let me see, let me see, let me see. No, but I mean, just in rest and in peace, know that we're here to see something beautiful. There's something beautiful in this day. There's something beautiful in this morning. There's something beautiful in this visit to the hospital. There's something beautiful on the way to the visit to the hospital. Just, and it's an intentionality and a vibrancy of energy. It's presenting your energy so that in the moment we can just be fully present. Get yourself in the moment. Get yourself in the moment and start paying attention with goodwill. And then all sorts of things will start to, and listen, right in the wake of the fog thing, I told you, we go read a book where that's the very image used in Dante's Inferno, that it was love, that the people in purgatory were in fog and they couldn't see through the fog. But there were different light sources that needed to be found. And we're the light sources. We're the stars. The stars would come and replace the sun because the sun was fogged out. And so anyway, I mean, it just opens up. It's so fun to activate the imagination and to see how important our imagination is to this.
Sure. In 2006, my mother-in-law passed away. My wife lost her mother, and it was a hard time for her. We had just been through Katrina, and lots of my family was displaced, and my mother-in-law got sick when we were away. We were actually we were in another part of the state because our part of the state was in a mess. Um, so anyway, she wound up passing away, and Kathy went into a really hard time. It was just, it was a lot going on around her, losing her mother, and her dad was he was heartbroken, and uh, and the Lord spoke to Kathy at one point, and He said, "I want you to be like a hummingbird." And that's become a big thing to her. I mean, she has kept that with her all of these years. I
Just
want
put
you
it
to
in her
be like,
nose and everything, or what?
yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
So he explained to her a hummingbird is just a tiny little creature that goes through a huge big world seeking out, the sweet things, the sweet nectar and
Oh,
flower.
wow.
Just a tiny little flower. I was watching some bees today out in my yard they were running around going into these little tiny flowers I've got growing back here. And it's a great big world, tiny little creature, but it knows how to find that sweet stuff in its surroundings. And she took that to heart. I mean, it really made an impact on her, and it helped her, out of that sort of a funk that she was in. And I think that was, when you talk about epiphany, that was sort of her epiphany. Was, almost like it was a breath from God, that changed her heart and then changed the way she looked at things. And from that point, she started focusing on beauty, like you said, on beauty, like the beautiful little hummingbird going after that little flower. So yeah, I think that's the power of an epiphany. But I don't know that an epiphany in that sense can come from within. Maybe it can, but that one actually came from without. That was like God breathed into her or something. And
Yes.
so yeah,
That is so perfect. That is just spot on. Flesh and blood, which from that is flesh and blood didn't show her that,
yeah,
but our
right,
Father,
right, sure.
yeah.
I think too, when we look at beyond the appearance, the bad guy doesn't get any conversation time. And I, if you've been around working in jails, or I used to work with young offenders, I sit with families who are hurting. I see families react horribly to a death of somebody. Greed comes out. unhealed relationships, all that stuff comes to the surface instantly. Like everything that's unresolved is suddenly magnified at the point of death, especially when you're dealing with planning of a service and all that kind of stuff. Fangs can come out. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens often enough that it's a thing. And so we see the reaction of the angry. We see the reaction of the hurt. And I'm already drawn to, okay, let's look beyond what I see, beyond their reactions. Why didn't you visit your mother or your father, before they died? Now you come to the service. Why bother? You didn't bother before, and all that stuff comes out. And you think, wait a minute, what else is going on beneath the surface? Now, this is not about therapy, but you got to look at it like that too. The person reacting, the person giving you the finger on the road because they think you cut them off. And then we have a chain reaction of reactions. But what if, and my wife always says this, it drives me nuts. We're driving a car, somebody's whipping past, I'm thinking, come on, and she says, they're probably on the way to the hospital. Somebody's having a baby. Every time she says that, it's really funny. She says, there was only one guy in the car. Anyway, it's just funny. It's funny. But to think beyond the reaction. Now, maybe we need to become aware of how fast we react. And seeing that slow down is a holy time. My driving habits have changed recently. Well, in the last couple of years, they're getting better. But I'm slowing down my reactions. I see people react horribly in a store. They're yelling at a manager because they're trying to get a better deal or manipulate it. The manager is not reacting. Man, like again, this is all about looking beyond the appearance of what you see. There's more going on. Why are they feeling that way? What is going on in their lives that they're so desperate and all they can do is lash out and react? It means they've arrived at a place of such discontent and not peace, because a peaceful person wouldn't react like that. Wait a minute. Maybe we should do some self-evaluation, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that the stronghold, again, I hate to keep beating that, but when Paul says again, that we demolishing strongholds, he's talking there. The context is about these thought patterns, these reactions that cause us to miss the spirit, that cause us to put a bushel over our light, and that it's the pattern of thought. It's the spontaneous. I mean, it's the reactionary nature of the thought. I was looking at the eye for an eye. There's so many passages in the Old Testament that says, yeah, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Bring it on. As he's injured another, so he'll be injured. And then we flip over to, my post today was that sometimes scripture isn't scriptural.
I saw that.
And then he passed over to, Matthew 5:38 through 49. And he says, you've heard it said that. Yeah, you've heard that said, but I'm telling you, no. And then he says, you turn the other cheek, you love, you go the extra mile, you give the extra garment. You love your enemy.
You got 4 cheeks.
Yeah, that's right. Infinity cheeks power.
Your butt. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Richard. You're a little slow there.
I am. My life story. But anyway, I mean, it's when we realize, you talk about strongholds in others on the road. That's brilliant, and sweet and tender of your wife to do that. But the strongholds really that we need to go to first are ours.
Yeah.
And how we react, because I've been horrible in traffic and I'm better than I have been before. But I mean, I'm telling you that you want a good thermometer to stick in your life, watch your patient, you're driving and how your attitudes and how we react, how we jump to conclusions.
BC, either you got to check when, is it before coffee or after coffee?
Well, I think that when another way of being into the now, of being present in the now, is to not react ourselves out of the now. And that, I think you nailed it when you talked about the reaction. Wait a minute, we don't have to react. We don't have to judge this thing at the speed of light. We don't have to just declare, that this guy's a sinner that just cut me off or whatever. We don't have to go there. And when we don't go there, then we're free to hear in the moment, and when we have the attitude of goodwill And I'm not saying, it's not human to not be upset about maybe something that happens briefly, but then we draw back. And again, that phrase that I heard from the horse master through Viggo Mortensen, the actor, said to speed up, you have to slow down. To speed up, slow down. To be in the present, where the quickenings of God are, the epiphanies of God, we need to slow down to speed up. All right, but we're acting so fast we don't hear the epiphanies because we're moving in our own lower level energy, and we miss the epiphanies. But when we slow down and listen, I've heard all sorts and seen all things in the courtroom, but it was only when I was slowed down and I recognized that the Lord was doing something here, that I just, so many times
in spite of you, right?
Yeah, in spite of me. In so many cases, I've felt I've ended with good results where the Lord would have me just be quiet, because I knew that something else was going on here, and the others needed to do the driving, whether it was a witness or whether it was someone coming to testify on my guy's behalf, or even the judge, what the judge wanted to hear, just whereas normally I would just try to pile on, and try to just respond. But then I've seen the Lord, and then when you see the Lord there, you see hearts moved upon, and which is something you don't see when you're in the reactionary mode. You're just looking to win the argument, or whatever, say the better thing, and you're not even looking at the hearts, and not even looking at, and even at your opponent's heart. It's I don't know. There's so much to see. There's so much to see in this foggy mist.
Yeah.
So Randy, when you run into situations, even in your work, as you deal with as an arborist, there's got to be a branch illustration, because you're a branch manager.
Right.
But how would you deal? Like, we just talked about driving incidences and stuff, and I talked about the funeral stuff. In your world, where have you seen it, or are you seeing it right now, or how could God be nudging you that way? Because I think what's nice about our group is nobody's arrived, none of us.
All right, sure.
And we're all learning, and I love it when Richard, you even say, I'll give you the example of the devil, whether it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter. That phrase matters to me because it's not a dogmatic locked in theology. There's still a learning going on. And so for Randy, for you, this idea of beyond the appearance, what have you seen in your world where you live?
Well, it's funny that you would ask that, because I'm right in the middle of a situation right now where part of my job is consulting. So I'm a salesperson, but I also do consulting. And I've been drawn into a situation where there's a dispute. It's a court case. There's a dispute over a tree. And so I went out and I wrote a report on what happened, and what's going to happen next, and that sort of thing. Well, so the other guys, they hired their own consultants, and they went out and did a report, and they just kind of tore me up. Well, the thing is I know these guys. We're arborists in New Orleans. We all know each other. And these guys were my friends. It's two of them. These guys I would have considered my friends, but they really ripped me up in this thing. And I was like, I was contemplating, do I just go for the throat, or because there's
Or the
there's some
guillotine, which
holes.
one?
Yeah. But I'm as I think about it in this discussion particularly, I'm thinking maybe I should not take that demeanor, where they're my enemy and I'm going to go for the throat, but um, be um, be less adversarial about it. Tell the truth, but be less adversarial about it. And so I think that's what I'm getting today from this. And that's heavy on my mind, that this whole report thing. I have to answer them, and we go to trial on May 4th. And so this is all heavy on my mind right now, and I'm really thinking that this conversation applies to what I'm doing right now. The way I involve myself in this going back and forth discussion, I think this today is going to alter the way I engage.
Wow, that's really cool, because you're looking at it as not a three-way conversation, but there's a topic in the middle of the table, right?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about. You're not attaching it to the individuals who are
Right.
saying the things. A lot of board meetings need to learn this. You're dealing with a subject matter, and you, with your integrity, get to put your report in.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Yeah, and there's something you remember when we studied the word lastening, that German word.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
Gelassenheit. It's the short verb of the whole. Oh, the big word is
We got 2
Gelassenheit.
minutes. We got 2 minutes.
But yeah, but it's just that sense of allowing. It's a posture of allowing. It's not where we're out doing something to drum up the Lord at all. It's not that. It's not a work. It is an allowing to where we slow down to speed up. We slow down to hear the Lord and just keep tender. I think a lot of it is keeping a tender heart. And obviously, when we're offended and we're being attacked, boy, the first thing that happens is your heart hardens. You know,
and it beats really fast.
And I posted something the other day about when I had a spell check error, and I put hardened heart. I was doing a post, and it came out a gardened heart. And I was like, oh my God, that's so spiritual, a gardened heart. You know, and which is really what we're talking about here is gardening our heart, which is a parable of the sower, you know, with the different heart things. And these things are, and the things that keep the bushel over our head and keep us from these epiphanies are taking offense or not, you know, bringing the high level energy to it and being scorched and, you know, from this, you know, from that heat and the dryness and all this and from the offense and all this. I mean, but all of it's, you know, but these are things that can be gardened, you know. So what's exciting about this is just to keep our hearts pliable, you know, keep our hearts pliable. And then because you're not reacting to it, you now have ushered, you've lasted the Lord to come in and help you with it. You know, and to be more surface in your thoughts and maybe to prompt you in certain ways. Yeah. So I mean, I swear, guys, I feel this in the courtroom. The days when I don't do it, it's like I'm a whole different lawyer, stumbling left and right. And then when I do it, the Lord is watching out for me, and I can feel that He's helping me, and I need it. I need it, brothers. You know, I really need it, because if there's any place you can get reactionary, it's in the courtroom.
I think this is a personal work of the heart. And instead of trying to arrive at something, instead of trying to be, like as in working to be the light, we need to learn to rest and let the light that's in us find its way out of us. And that means disintegrating the fog that it needs to go. Amen. That's it, folks. We got to go. Hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you for this conversation. We'll catch you next.
Join me next time on Still Growing in Grace. Enjoy previous episodes by downloading our podcast at growingingrace.ca. If this show's been an encouragement to you, consider making a donation today. For our Canadian link, visit growingingrace.ca, and for our USA link, visit eschurch.com. Your donation will help us continue spreading really good news. Thank you again for tuning in to Still Growing in Grace.